Well, here we are again on Hala London Radio, and it is really good to be here, really good to be with you. God bless you one and all. Now, what are we going to start with this week? Let's start with Egypt. There's a lot to talk about, but let's start with Egypt. It's interesting, isn't it? There's a chap called Muhammad Ali who runs the Muhammad Ali Secrets Facebook page, and he has videos up there, and there he is, cheerfully chain smoking, a handsome man, and he's calling Sisi a midget, President Sisi of Egypt. He's calling him a midget and a disgrace. He has some 35 or more, approaching, I don't know, day by day they go up, so somewhere towards 40 videos up there, and they are eagerly awaited by the youth of Egypt, who are fascinated by what this man, whom they regard as one of their own, is saying. And as a consequence of the trigger created by this man, there has been tear gas on the streets of Egypt for the first time, first time in a very long time. And what's going on? I mean, President Sisi of Egypt was not helped, of course, by Donald Trump at the G7 when, so it's alleged, he said, "Where is my favorite dictator?" And he's doing a great job. Well, that kind of endorsement, of course, is not what anybody really wants to hear. It's not ideal. And this chap, who is this Muhammad Ali? I mean, he's doing these broadcasts from Spain. Well, he was a businessman and an actor, and he worked with the army for some 15 years, and he had some differences with the generals. I mean, he made his fortune, yes, from these very self-same people. But he left to Spain, and from whence, somewhere in Marbella or somewhere of this kind, he is issuing these broadcasts, YouTube videos or Facebook videos on the corruption of the generals and the corruption of President Sisi. Corruption, what he means is President Sisi spending too much time building palaces. And his videos have gained coverage, massively so. So much so that President Sisi of Egypt had to use a youth conference, an annual event normally held here and there around the country in Alexandria and places of that kind. Sisi said, "We'll move the youth conference to Cairo, and I will be the only speaker to respond to the accusations of Muhammad Ali on his Muhammad Ali Secrets Facebook page." Well, talk about giving your enemy credibility. So Muhammad Ali, for his part, told the Egyptians to go and protest. And so people went and protested in many cities. And it's alleged that, well, you get various figures, approaching 300, possibly as many as 500 Egyptians were arrested. The key point is that the barrier of fear in Egypt has been slightly broken. I mean, street protests were forbidden under the emergency law imposed in Egypt 3 years ago. So the barrier of fear has been slightly broken. And in which way? What are people upset about? Well, it's the same elements that brought us the Arab Spring in Egypt. These three key elements: living, Aish, freedom, Hurriya, and Adala Ijtimaiya, social justice. Forgive my Arabic, but you know what I mean. Aish, Hurriya, Adala Ijtimaiya, life, freedom, and justice. Well, these are the three battle cries. I mean, but the most important of them is Aish, living. How do you live? A third of the Egyptian population is under the poverty line. The key problem here, of course, is that old chestnut, the International Monetary Fund, those dastardly evil people. I mean, 3 years ago, they agreed to a $12 billion, it's a loan, I guess, not a gift, from the $12 billion from the IMF. But the IMF imposed conditions on Egypt, like lifting the subsidy on petrol and bread and bringing the Egyptian pound to market level. So the value of the Egyptian pound dropped against that of the dollar, and this made people poorer in real terms, because key imports became unobtainable. So, I mean, the IMF punishes the poor, not the rich. This has always been the case with the IMF. You touch them and they're like poison. And 2 weeks ago, the last portion of the so-called reforms, the IMF calls these things reforms, the impositions from the IMF were delivered. So the cost of living is very expensive in Egypt, and salaries remain the same. And so Muhammad Ali in Spain, it's not so much that he's not some sort of visionary that created these uprisings, these protests, and very serious protests. No, he triggered them rather than created them, because the elements that were already there, Sharia and Adela Ijtimaiya, the elements, Adela Ijtimaiya, social justice, the question of corruption, and Sharia, freedom, because people want freedom. I mean, all the activists and opposition politicians, they're all suppressed in Egypt. It's not right, not the Egyptian way. Well, I suppose it has been the Egyptian way, but it's not the way the Egyptian people want to see things run. Now, this is not to say that Sisi is all bad news. I remember when I was in Cairo last, one of our Egyptian friends, our Egyptian fixer, he was a great follower of Sisi, and his little 6-year-old son, every time the word Sisi was pronounced, he would stand up straight and salute, in great excitement. There are people for whom Sisi is a hero. The trains run on time. We used to talk about Mussolini making the trains run on time in Italy. Sisi has made the trains run on time in Egypt. Is this a small thing? Actually, it's not a small thing. It's symptomatic of the order he has brought. President Sisi has brought stability to Egypt. So don't think he's all bad news. Perhaps the IMF are all bad news. But he has been one for grandiose projects, old Sisi, building a second Suez Canal or moving the capital of Egypt from Cairo to sort of a new Cairo. This kind of thing that he's been dreaming about and trying to do. And building these great palaces. In a way, he's like a new pharaoh. And there is a little grumpiness. So what we're seeing is a wake-up call for President Sisi. It's not the end of President Sisi, not the end of not the end of anything. Egypt rolls on, and rolls on hopefully stably, and rolls on to a better tomorrow. Now these dastardly IMF reforms are out of the way, or at least they seem to be out of the way. Goodness knows these people can make more demands of poor Egypt, but anyway, the things seem to be better. Sisi is there. He's not going away. Things are not changing in that sense, but he's had a wake-up call. Perhaps it's good that he has. And it's curious in the way in which it's happened. Muhammad Ali's secret Facebook videos, you can all look at them. They're there. They're quite open for you to see. this chain-smoking, charismatic, youngish man, quite handsome he is, with a gravelly voice, one of the people telling it like it is. Well, of course. He's had his impact. People think he's got some hidden agenda. He's being backed by somebody. You don't have to be backed by anybody in this world of social media. If you catch fire, then people will look at you. They're excited by you. It's a new kind of world. I mean, I know this. If you put a Facebook post up in London, and you can advertise Facebook posts. You put £20 on them, and you can do that yourself. And say you want to promote this Facebook post. You do that in London on some political subject, and what are you going to get? 20 likes. You do it in Cairo. And overnight you'll get 20,000 likes. I know this personally. So Facebook is a big weapon in a place like Egypt. In any place where there's a little bit of smidge of unhappiness, or grumpiness, then Facebook is important. It is important. It makes a difference. Whether it's Algeria, Facebook's big in Algeria. There's a little grumpiness in Algeria. Libya, even Yemen, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, they always talk of as being a Twitter country, but Facebook is big. It's interesting. Oddly, not so much in places like Palestine and Israel. I never have quite understood why Facebook is in some places big, in other places not. But in Egypt, it's bigger than anywhere. And Muhammad Ali, his Muhammad Ali Secrets page is on Facebook. So he's changing the face of politics in Egypt. One man being grumpy. That's the power of the internet in today's world. Watch out, oh mighty ones. You too can be brought low. Hey, there we are. Well, God bless you all. Now that's what we want to say about Egypt. Egypt goes on. Egypt is not finished, nor is Sisi finished, but the wake-up call has been made. On we go. And let's have a pause. We'll talk about another subject in a moment. Thank you.